What if the most dangerous criminal isn't a shadowy figure in the night, but someone you see every single day? The air in Brightwood Plaza hummed with the usual Saturday afternoon rhythm. Sunlight streamed through the giant skylight, illuminating a gentle ballet of shoppers. The scent of freshly baked cinnamon rolls wafted from the bakery, mingling with the crisp, clean air of a well-maintained space. It was a place where families felt safe, a community hub, where life's little moments unfolded. In the middle of it all was Officer Jack Miller, a man who knew the rhythm of this town like the back of his hand, and his partner, a golden Labrador retriever named Leo. Leo was a fixture of the local precinct, a gentle giant with a wagging tail and a soul-deep empathy that made him a favorite with everyone, especially the kids. For Jack, Leo was more than a partner. He was a constant presence, a steady weight at his side that grounded him through the daily chaos. Today they were just doing their routine patrol, the kind of quiet day where you mostly talked to store owners and waved at smiling children. Leo, with his nose low to the ground and his tail a slow metronome, seemed to be enjoying the simple pleasure of a sunny afternoon walk. He was a big, goofy Labrador, a bundle of joy, who off-duty spent his days chasing tennis balls and hogging the best spot on the living room sofa. But under that playful exterior was a highly trained canine officer, a fact that would soon be put to the ultimate test. Nearby, a young mother named Sarah was navigating the aisles with her 7-year-old son, Ethan. Ethan, with a mop of sandy hair and a bright blue jacket, was mesmerized by a towering display of toy superheroes. He was a happy kid full of boundless energy and a fascination for all things that flew or had a cape. Sarah, like any modern parent, was momentarily distracted by a text message, a quick check of her phone to confirm a dinner plan. It was just a second, a fleeting moment where her attention was diverted. But in that second, the ordinary world dissolved into a nightmare. She looked back, and the space where Ethan had been standing was empty. "Ethan," she called, her voice soft at first, laced with a bit of a laugh, thinking he was just hiding. "Ethan, stop playing games." But the silence that answered her was heavy and wrong. Her laughter died in her throat, replaced by a cold dread. Her frantic, panicked cry of "Ethan" echoed through the vast open space of the plaza, a piercing sound that cut through the joyful buzz. The shoppers paused, their happy chatter replaced by a ripple of frantic whispers and nervous glances. A cashier froze mid-scan, a security guard glanced over with a flicker of confusion, and the very air in Brightwood Plaza seemed to hold its breath. A mother's worst fear had come true. That's when the call came through to Officer Miller. The voice on the other end was clipped professional, but Miller could hear the undertone of panic. A child missing at Brightwood Plaza. He straightened up, his hand automatically reaching for the radio on his shoulder. He gave a sharp command to Leo, who was by his side. In an instant, the playful wag of his tail replaced by a stiff, focused intensity. This was no longer a simple patrol. It was a race against time, a desperate mission to find a missing boy. As they headed toward the commotion, the weight of the moment settled heavily on Jack's shoulders. But beside him, Leo was a picture of unwavering resolve, his nose already twitching, ready to find the ghost in the machine. When Officer Miller and Leo arrived at the scene, the mall was a maelstrom of confusion. Shoppers stood in small groups, their faces etched with concern, while the boy's mother, Sarah, sobbed uncontrollably, trying to describe her son to a frazzled store manager. Jack took a deep breath, his mind cutting through the noise, and knelt down next to Sarah. He asked her a series of calm, firm questions, trying to get a clear picture of what had happened, while Leo sniffed the ground around the toy display where Ethan had last been seen. Human eyes saw only a cluttered floor, but Leo's nose was a finely tuned instrument, picking up on the subtlest scents. Leo's ears twitched, his eyes locked onto a small area near the shelf. He picked up a faint but distinct scent, grape soda, and the unique floral smell of a child's shampoo. It was a trail invisible to the human eye, a ghost of a child's presence. Jack, trusting his partner implicitly, gave Leo the command, "Find." The change in the dog was instantaneous. Leo's tail stiffened, his body became a taut wire of muscle and focus, and he moved with a laser-like precision through the maze of shoppers, ignoring the noise and the distractions. Jack followed close behind, his boots echoing on the polished floor, his heart thumping in time with the urgency of the moment. Their path led them through the bakery aisle, past shelves of bread and pastries. It was here that Jack first noticed a strange detail. A stocky janitor with a nervous twitch and a tired face stood near a storage closet, his hands clasped nervously in front of him. He wasn't sweeping or cleaning. He was just watching them, a strange intensity in his eyes. It was a detail that barely registered at first, another curious observer in a crowd. But a small voice in the back of Jack's mind whispered that something was wrong with this picture. Leo, however, was undeterred. He moved with a purpose, his nose low, a silent hunter on a critical mission. He stopped abruptly at the frozen food section, his paws braced. He let out a low, rumbling growl, a sound that sent a chill down Jack's spine. Jack crouched down, scanning the floor. There was nothing obvious, just a faint scuff mark on the polished linoleum. But Leo wouldn't move his focus absolute. Jack leaned closer, his fingers brushing the floor, and there, wedged beneath a display freezer, was a small plastic toy soldier, a miniature action figure of a hero with a tiny faded cape. It was a clue that only a trained K9 could have led them to a tiny beacon in a sea of confusion, and it solidified Jack's belief that they were on the right track. The hunt had just begun, and the stakes were higher than ever. Leo's tail gave one decisive wag, then his nose lifted, sniffing the air again. He pivoted sharply toward the back of the store, his ears swiveling like radar dishes. Jack followed, his heart pounding in his chest. They weaved through the labyrinth of shelves and curious onlookers, their path a relentless arrow pointing to the employee-only area. As they passed the stocky janitor again, Jack's gaze lingered a beat too long. The man's hands were no longer clasped, but twisting together, a silent signal of deep-seated anxiety. A low growl from Leo confirmed Jack's suspicion. This wasn't just a curious onlooker. They reached a narrow hallway lined with lockers and cluttered with cleaning supplies. The air here was stale and damp. At the end of the hall, a door was slightly ajar. Jack's pulse quickened. He pushed the door open to reveal a dimly lit storage room, a jumble of cardboard boxes and pallets. The air here was heavy with the smell of old paper and dust, and something else, a faint metallic odor that made Jack's stomach twist with a sickening premonition. Leo shot inside, his body low to the ground, his paws making soft thudding sounds on the concrete floor. He stopped at a locked metal cabinet in the far corner, his tail rigid and his hackles raised. He barked sharply, a short explosive sound that echoed off the walls. Jack instinctively reached for his radio, but before he could speak, a loud clatter came from behind him. He spun around just in time to see the janitor from earlier, bolting toward a back exit, his face pale with fear. "Stop!" Jack shouted, but the man didn't hesitate. Leo lunged the leash, pulled tight in Jack's grip. The man shoved a cart into their path and disappeared through the swinging doors. Jack's heart raced as he stared at the locked cabinet. His gut told him Ethan was inside. He gripped the door handle, but it was locked tight. He felt a knot tighten in his chest. What the hell was going on in this place? As sirens wailed outside, a sign that backup was on its way, Jack couldn't shake the feeling that they were standing on the edge of something much bigger than a simple missing child. With a sense of grim determination, he pried open the cabinet, his hands shaking. Inside, huddled in the corner, was Ethan. He was safe breathing, but his small body trembled with fear. A strip of duct tape was loosely wrapped around his wrists, a chilling detail that confirmed Jack's darkest fears. He scooped the boy into his arms, his voice soft but urgent. "Hey, buddy, I'm Officer Miller. You're safe now. We're going to get you out of here." But the moment of relief was short-lived. As he carried Ethan outside to the waiting paramedics, he saw Leo's ears perk up. The dog's body went rigid. He stared past Jack toward the rear exit and let out a growl so deep it rattled Jack's chest. Just in time, Jack saw the janitor, the one who'd tried to blend in, slipping through the rear emergency door with a dark duffel bag slung over his shoulder. The chase was back on, and this time the stakes were even higher. The chase was a blur of motion, a desperate sprint across the loading dock of the Brightwood Plaza. Jack's boots hit the pavement hard, his breath burning in his chest. But Leo was a missile, his paws pounding the asphalt in a blur of black and tan muscle. Jack released the leash with a sharp command, "Take him!" The Labrador surged forward, closing the distance in seconds. He leapt jaws wide, catching the man's arm, just as he reached for the car door. They went down hard, the man screaming in a mix of shock and pain. Jack reached them seconds later, cuffs in hand, his adrenaline roaring. He pinned the man, Raul Garcia, down, his breath heavy. "Who are you?" Jack demanded, but the man said nothing, his eyes hard and flat like stones. Jack stared at the duffel bag, half open, revealing rolls of duct tape zip ties and a small bottle labeled chloroform. His blood ran cold. This wasn't a crime of opportunity. It was a calculated setup. Leo stood beside him, still growling, his breath heavy. Jack gave his partner a nod. "Good job, Leo," he murmured, his voice tight with a quiet respect that came from the depths of his soul. Back at the precinct, the quiet hum of the late-night air was a backdrop to the gravity of their purpose. Jack and his partner, Detective Maya Collins, sat across from each other, the air thick with the smell of stale coffee. Raul Garcia, age 44, had no priors under that name, but his fingerprints matched a man named Victor Reyes, wanted in 3 states for child abduction and trafficking. He'd been off the grid for 5 years, hiding in plain sight, a fact that made the skin on Jack's arms prickle with a cold sweat. The true plot twist came from the duffel bag itself. As they laid out the contents on the table, Leo, who had been lying quietly under the table, shifted and nudged the bag with his snout. Jack leaned closer, his fingers brushing against something stiff hidden in the lining. Inside, he found a thin plastic envelope. It held old creased photographs, kids, different faces, different places. His stomach turned to ice. He flipped them over. Names and dates were scribbled on the backs. The final twist came when he recognized one of the names, a missing persons case from a neighboring city that had gone cold years ago. Victor Reyes was not just a kidnapper, he was a key piece in a horrifying puzzle that stretched far beyond Brightwood Plaza. The captain's voice crackled through the radio, a clipped, urgent command that shattered the quiet of the night. "Collins Miller, we've got a problem. A mother at the Willow Creek playground says her son is missing, 5 years old." Jack felt the world tilt beneath him. Another child. Already. Victor Reyes' smirk in the interrogation room, his cryptic words about ghosts and looking higher up, suddenly made chilling sense. This wasn't just a single incident. It was a symptom of a larger, more horrifying conspiracy. Jack and Maya bolted out the door with Leo at their heels, a blur of black and tan muscle. The playground was a small, fenced-in area near the back of the shopping center. A place of innocent fun now choked with a palpable sense of fear. A woman stood near the swings, her face pale and frantic, clutching her phone. "He was just playing right here," she sobbed. "I looked down for a second, and when I looked up, he was gone. His name is Noah." Jack's heart clenched. He gave Leo the sharp command. "Find him, Leo. Find Noah." The Labrador took off like a shot, his nose to the ground, tracing an invisible scent trail that only he could see. The chase led them across the parking lot and toward the industrial end of the complex. The air was thick with the smell of grease and exhaust fumes. Leo stopped abruptly near a dumpster, barking furiously. His nose hovered over a crumpled blue sweatshirt with a cartoon dinosaur on the front. Noah's mother had mentioned it. Jack's blood ran cold. Leo sniffed the sweatshirt, then let out a sharp bark, turning toward a side alley that led deeper into the complex. The message was clear. They were still moving. They hadn't stopped. Jack and Maya followed their boots, pounding the asphalt in rhythm with the urgency of the moment. The hunt wasn't over. It had just begun. The chase culminated in a dimly lit storage room where they found Noah terrified, but safe, and another accomplice, a different man, a new piece of the puzzle. The weight of it all settled on Jack's shoulders as he looked at the little boy and then at Leo. This wasn't just about a single case or a single hero. It was about a deep-seated conspiracy that had been preying on their community for years. They had saved 2 children, but how many more were out there? The road ahead was long and the shadows were deep. But Jack looked down at his partner, his steadfast, unwavering Leo, and he knew they would face it together. Thank you for following this incredible story. The unwavering loyalty and heroic instincts of canine partners like Leo remind us that true heroes come in all shapes and sizes, and sometimes they even have 4 legs. This story is a testament to the powerful bond between humans and animals, and the courage that shines brightest in the darkest of times. If this story moved you, please let us know in the comments below. What would you have done in Officer Miller's shoes? What can we as a community do to better protect our most vulnerable? And if you want to hear more stories of real-life animal heroes making a difference, make sure to like this video, subscribe to our channel, and turn on notifications so you don't miss our next chapter. Your support helps us bring these incredible, heartwarming, and sometimes heartbreaking stories to life. Thank you for watching.